What's going on? This is Jay Period, the Mixtape Assassin, DJ, producer, musical storyteller. I'm here with the Kenny Center, very excited to talk to you about what I do.
And welcome to this very special place on this very special day.
Well, you know, I think I'm probably first a DJ. I think storytelling has really been ingrained in me since I was a kid, but DJing became my language, and that is really about sort of creating energy in a room, you know, using music to get people excited. I think as a producer, it becomes about breaking that, you know, those elements down and composing your own music. And I think that the storytelling part was just sort of in me from the time I was a kid, so it seemed natural to me to want to tell stories with music. One of the things that's important for me to mention is that, you know, my dad was a teacher when I was a kid, but he was also a folk musician. And I think, you know, the music that I got from him always had a message. You know, there was in many ways a story behind a lot of that music or built into the song. So I think a lot of what sparked me early on was this sense that music is supposed to convey a story. Like Hamilton, for example, where you're using music to, you know, convey this story, and that allows it to penetrate to places that stories would normally go. So I think, you know, for me, being a musical storyteller is key to what I do. In most cases, the early stories I told were all about artists that I just loved. And it was something in their music that spoke to me. In many ways, it became about translating that message for a younger generation. So there's kids now that might not know a Big Daddy Kane or a Lauryn Hill or a Nas to the extent that I did. That is the thing that inspires me, is this feeling that this story needs to be told to the next generation, and they need to understand what the seeds of this are, because it's important. This process is a lot like putting together a puzzle. First thing I want to do is I want to lay out all my puzzle pieces. So when I'm doing a project that requires a lot of research, you know, I'm digging, I'm learning. You know, people might think I know everything about James Brown when I sit down to make a James Brown mixtape, but the beauty of it is that I don't. I'm going and I'm digging and I'm doing research and I'm just discovering. I'm watching documentaries, I'm listening to interviews. I'm trying to put myself in his shoes and understand the way he thinks and sort of how these things came about. My studio desk when I'm doing this is, you know, splayed out with a million different Post-its and sort of ideas, and trying to piece this puzzle together. And I think, you know, when you find two things that connect and feel like they organically go together, you know, you've got a building block, and you kind of build it out like that, really, you know, in my experience. Most of these artists are huge, you know, in stature, and it could be overwhelming to try to tell their story. So I think you sort of have to follow where the music takes you, and you have to follow where the story takes you. Part of what I do when I'm mixing music and stories together is sort of deciding when is the right moment for what. So I think half of that is the instinct of a DJ to know what song should come after. A story has an arc, and I think a story has a natural feeling to that arc. So, you know when it's time to sort of take the story up a notch, bring it down a notch. That's how you sort of earn the, you know, the climax of whatever that is. Music functions in a very similar way. As I've developed as an artist, you know, it came time for me to try to create my own album, and so to sort of carry this idea of musical storytelling to its fullest, I felt that it was my mission to go out and find, you know, this generation's greatest storytellers to help me tell my stories. So, you know, I worked on the Hamilton mixtape. I produced the Hamilton mixtape. I got to work with Lin-Manuel, who now we all know is really one of our generation's greatest storytellers. He lended his talents to my storytelling album, which is called Story to Tell. I asked Dave Chappelle if he would be the narrator for my album, and to my great amazement, he agreed. The funny part about how I choose my collaborators is that I came to this from a place where I didn't really get to choose them as collaborators. You know, I was a fan of these artists. And so when I sat down to make a Big Daddy Kane or a Nas or a Lauryn Hill or a Mary J. Blige mixtape, I didn't know them yet. I did get an opportunity to sit and talk to them. I'm becoming even more of a fan, learning more about, you know, what sort of makes them so special. If it moves me, then I feel like I can guarantee that I'm going to be able to create a version of it that moves other people. You know, taking one of these mixtapes to the stage is a whole different animal. It's more that I really like a challenge. And so, when we came up with this idea of the live mixtape, the challenge aspect was we're going to put this up on stage and we're going to perform it and record it all at once. And we're going to actually make a mixtape live on the spot and try and capture that magic. You're dealing with a lot of different artists. In the case of something like Rise Up, there's a real message behind that show. It's sort of about music and social change, and so there's visuals to consider. There's sort of the artists themselves and what they represent to consider in building a show. And then I think once you get that far, you are sort of trying to create an experience that is both scripted and also loose. So, as a DJ, you're used to kind of in the moment feeling your way through things and what feels natural, but that doesn't work when you've got other artists there that are expecting a cue or need to know, what their prompt is. So what I try to do is build these sort of frameworks where, there's a moment where they're going to start and they know that moment, and then I'm following them actually.
Yo, one thing about music, when it hits you, feel no pain. White folks that controls your brain. I know better than that, that's game, and we ready for that.
When I perform with someone like Black Thought, who is, sort of every MC built into one, I have to leave him broad areas to improvise. And so, my time with him or working with the Roots, who might change and go a different direction at any point in time, has gotten in me this sort of instinct of overly preparing for what might happen and then being prepared in the moment for whatever does happen. If I've got Maimouna Youssef on stage with me, then I know, there's a moment for her to just sing her heart out. There's a moment for her to, come down and say a prayer. There's a moment for her to, rap and go crazy. I think all those things present different challenges, whether it's a whole group of artists or a single individual artist, where the light is shining on that artist and they need to be fully present in the moment. Part of what I enjoy most about this is that it's never not a challenge.
Baby!
I think it's a really amazing development that you have this culture that started on the streets, that was labeled as criminal, that has earned its right to stand among the great American cultures like jazz and to sort of establish itself as one of America's most important cultural offerings. So it makes me very happy to see, the Hip Hop Culture Council thriving at the Kennedy Center. Who would have thought that the culture would take it, this far? In the words of Biggie, you never thought that hip hop would take it this far. What would you tell a young kid who wants to do this for a living? I would say, love what you do.